Dr. Mulder, het is goed om jou te zien.
Thank you very much and baie dankie vir die geleentheid. I appreciate this.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Ek waardeer dit.
Ek waardeer dit ook. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank
you very much.
Dr. Mulder, let's get to know each other.
Sure.
You come from a very prominent political family.
Yes.
Your father, Cornelis Beatrice Mulder,
Yes.
was the information minister in
Correct.
John Vorster's government.
Yes.
Your brother, Peter Willem Mulder,
Yes.
was the president.
Yes.
Actually, the role that you actually
At the
occupy.
moment. Yes.
And also served as Deputy Minister of Agriculture in Jacob Zuma's government.
Correct.
Can you take us through how was it like growing up in a political family?
You're absolutely right. We grew up in a very political environment, political household. As a matter of fact, my father's father, my grandfather, was also in politics. He was in the provincial council up north in the constituency called Witwatersberg.
Okay.
And my father's grandfather was in Paul Kruger's parliament, Volksraad, in Pretoria. So there's a long family tradition, family history coming right through. But as we grew up, as you correctly point out, it was a political home. We didn't talk about the weather or sport or something. We discussed politics, morning, noon, and night.
Debates as well.
Debates all the time, and that was very exciting. It was a very good process to go through.
Yes.
My father gave us many lessons. He taught us, for example, that you cannot say you want to become a politician or go into politics. He said, no. Go and qualify you professionally if you can for some different career.
Yes.
I studied law. My brother was an academic. He was a professor in communications at university. Okay. And politics will find you or not, depending on how life plays out. And that's exactly what happened. Yes. And he taught us many lessons. Another one which he taught us, which I found was very helpful until today, was he was away. When he was at the height of his career, we were three brothers.
Okay, three brothers.
There's a second brother between me and my eldest brother. He died about 12 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And he was not in politics. He was in the business sector.
So he was an entrepreneur.
Yeah, he was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
He did quite well.
Yeah.
But then my father was at the height of his career and he would be away for some time. Then he'd come home and he asked my mother, how did the boys behave?
Yes.
And like teenage boys, lots of shoving and bumping and fighting. And then my father would have a court case amongst the three of us. But it was very unfair.
Okay.
He didn't ask what happened. He didn't ask who did what. He asked only one question. Who of you three lost your temper first?
Oh, okay.
And the one who lost his temper first, you are wrong.
Losers.
Regardless of what happened, regardless of the provocation.
Yeah.
And by doing that, he forced us self-control. Never lose your temper in politics. And I've seen many colleagues destroy their careers when they lose their temper and they say something out of anger. And you can't really withdraw this and you can't distract this, and then there's a problem. So it's always self-control. It's not that easy, but it was fascinating to grow up in a political home.
And your father came close to replacing John Vorster.
Yes, that was very close. My father was the crown prince in the National Party.
Yes.
In those days, South Africa consisted of only 4 provinces: the Transvaal, the Cape Province, Free State, and Natal.
Yes.
And my father was the leader of the National Party in the Transvaal, the biggest province with the most votes in the National Party caucus.
Yes.
He became leader of the party in the Transvaal a couple of years before that, and he was destined, he was the crown prince to become the new prime minister.
Apparent.
Absolutely. But then, obviously, in the Cape, there was a gentleman called P.W. Botha who had his own ideas.
Okay.
And P.W. Botha thought he should have already become prime minister when Vorster became prime minister. Oh. So he was anxious to get into that position. And then there was the so-called information affair. And that was used to discredit my father.
Yes.
All kinds of rumors were spread. You can't vote for him. He will be arrested. He'll go to prison. None of that was true, obviously.
So it was a smear campaign.
It was a smear campaign. Ironically, years later, when my father was on his deathbed, 2 or 3 of the members of the Free State Parliament caucus came to visit him. And asked him to please forgive us. We were misled. We were told stories and we voted a wrong way. In the end, my father lost with 6 votes against P.W. Botha. And I think that was a tragic...
Only 6 votes.
6 votes. And that was a tragic situation because I think my father was a pragmatist. He was a realist. He would have sent South Africa in a different direction.
He was not more of a securocrat.
No,
like
absolutely not.
Botha
No, my father was on record to say he wants to make Soweto the most beautiful city in Africa. And he had very good relations relations with specifically the black community, and those were his responsibility at the time.
Yes, yes.
But after he was forced out, we went into the Securocrat system of Mr. P.W. Botha. And there's an interesting book written by Mr. Coleman on human rights violations in South Africa. And you'll find 95% of human rights violations happened during that period. Because then there was no more discussions, there were no real negotiations, there was no diplomacy. That was then security. And
even internally in the government.
In South Africa, absolutely. You had one state of emergency after the other, and things went completely wrong. But that's history. Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one.
Yes.
But earlier on this year, you were elected unopposed as president of Freedom Front Plus. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. But obviously, as an outsider, we didn't see any televised elective conferences. You against this leader as well.
Yes.
Can you take us through what is the process? Hoe werk hierdie dan?
Sure. The Freedom Front Plus is a very democratic party.
Yes.
Because we reacted to the undemocraticness within the National Party when we saw that in the past.
Yes.
So when the party was formed in 1994, our constitution said we've got an elective conference every year.
Every year.
Then we realized, but that is too much. You can't really elect a leader and then within a year he or she must be re-elected, and you don't give them space to prove themselves.
Yes.
So over time that was changed. So now we've got an elective conference every 3 years. And we had an elective conference in February of this year. And our party works on the following basis. We are a federal party with structures in all 9 provinces.
All 9 provinces.
And then it works from the bottom up. You've got your members who come together in branches. They put a provincial council together for the party in each province.
Yes.
And then on a strict federal basis, each province are allowed to send 11 delegates to an elective conference. So it's a representative from all the provinces, and then included all the elected representatives, provincial, national, etc.
Yes.
So we had that meeting in February this year. I was approached by some of the colleagues in some of the provinces to make myself available. I was asked twice in the past to do so, and I declined.
Oh, previously,
but I declined. My brother was elected at some stage, and then Dr. Groenewald after him. Okay. And this time around, I decided, well, I'm going to give it a go. And I did indicate to the party, I said I would prefer, if possible, to be unopposed. But I know it's a democracy. You can't just say that. Anyone can be elected. Anyone can oppose you. But I was going to stand in any case whether I was going to be opposed or not. I took that decision. On the day, I was not opposed. I was elected unopposed, and I really appreciated that. And I said thank you to the party. I thought that
you didn't want to fracture the party.
Well, it seems like that because
the competition.
In the run-up to that election process, in the last year or so, and that's not a secret, there was some internal strife in the party. There was some conflict and all kinds of unhappiness between some individuals, and that's typical what normally happened.
Okay.
And I said the fact that I'm unopposed is a first step in that direction of healing that division. And since then, in the last 4.5 months, my approach was to absolutely unite the party and to take everyone with. I've got a collective kind of leadership. I believe in collective wisdom.
Yes.
I take people with me, and so far, so good.
No, that's great. In obviously, your political organization opposes a number of policies that are being implemented by government.
Yes.
But the one that sticks out, obviously, it's Black economic empowerment.
Yes.
Can you take us through what are your grievances with Black economic empowerment, and why do you think it's a danger to South Africans, Black and white?
Yes.
I'd like to hear your views on that, because you've got strong views.
I understand that when the ANC came to power in 1994, their approach was to transform South Africa in all spheres, including the economy, etc., etc. I understand that. And the Constitution also makes provision for transformation. But in the end, it's important that in doing so, that we do not discriminate against other South Africans now again. So if things were wrong in the past by excluding some sectors of society, it will be wrong again now to exclude other sectors of society in the process of transformation. And I don't think that's a good idea. For example, if you look back from 1994 until now, it's 31 years. So anyone born since 1994, Black, white, colored, Indian, doesn't matter, were born basically after the ANC came to power. They didn't have any role to play during the apartheid days. They were not involved in any way. And even though you've got to transform, but at some stage you've got to get the slate sorted out and to an equal situation where you give all young people an equal opportunity. Because young people now from some minority communities will say, we are being discriminated against for nothing that we've done wrong, and we should make it possible to open the economy. Now, for the last 15 years, basically, we've seen that our economy is not growing. We struggle to get to 1% growth, and our population growth is much higher than that. So we're all getting poorer year after year. And if the economy is not growing, then surely there must be something wrong somewhere. And I want to believe that it's this policy of black economic empowerment, because that policy did not empower black people or people that are not white. It has empowered, it seems, a small elite. Interesting enough, there was an interview recently with Professor Willem Gumede. He's from the University of Witwatersrand, from the School of Governance. And he said in that interview, he was asked to look into black economic empowerment. And what he came up with was the following. He says that since 1994, it seems that conservatively calculated, about 1 trillion rand. Now, when I was in the United States, I changed that into dollars to explain that to them. That's $55 billion. He says that was used and shifted between less than 100 individuals.
The connected ones.
The connected, politically connected ones, over and over, empowering them. That's not black economic empowerment. That's black elite enrichment. And my heart bleeds for all the poor people standing out there on the corners of the streets in South Africa, black, white, everyone is there, desperate for a job. I saw yesterday, and that just indicates the problem. The South African police services advertised for their 25-26 intake 5,500 positions in the police services. 5,500 positions. How many people applied? 1,049,998 people applied. More than 1 million applied for those posts. And then the irony of those applications, 300,000 are graduates who apply for a position in the police to become a constable. At least they've got a job. Now, the tragedy is, of that total number of applications, only 0.52% will be successful. That's tragic. And that indicates to me that there's something wrong with the policy. Now, if you look at what's happening internationally in terms of what is expected of South Africa, and I understand that business are saying, allow us to create jobs, allow us to create businesses. It seems that companies have billions of rands on their balance sheets, but they're not prepared to spend that and to create new jobs in South Africa because of these kind of policies. And I've taken it up with the president on the 27th of May. There was a question time in Parliament, which I had an opportunity to ask a question. And I said to the president, the one thing, if you look at the current situation after 30 years of ANC government, when we went into the government of national unity, 10 political parties came together from a very diverse ideological positions.
Yes.
But the one thing that they all agreed on was we need to get the economy to grow and we need to create jobs. So I asked the president, said, Mr. President, if we all are committed to get the economy growing, what new policies are you developing within the government of national unity to make that possible? Because it seems that the current policies, how good they may have been intended, do not have the necessary results. Economy is not growing, unemployment 32%, official figure, youth unemployment even higher, 50 to 60%. Now, instead of the president coming out with a positive response, he tried to give me an economics 101 lesson and trying to school me. I didn't have an opportunity to respond. And he responded very emotionally. He asked me all kinds of strange questions. Don't I want black people to be rich? Don't I think black people should own some of the economy and those kind of things? So last week in his debate on Wednesday, I had the opportunity to respond to him.
To that.
And I said to him, Mr. President, of course I want black people to be rich. And a small elite are spectacularly rich. But that cannot be said about the vast amount of black people and others in South Africa who struggle from month to month to make ends meet.
The majority.
Yeah, vast majority.
Dr. Mulder, I'd like to take you back as well.
Sure.
There was a time in history in South Africa when the Afrikaner population faced severe suffering.
Yes.
During the Anglo-Boer War,
Yes.
You saw the English burning your farms,
Yes.
killing your animals and your livestock, your cattle.
Yeah.
You saw even, thousands and thousands of Afrikaners ending up in concentration camps.
Yes.
They tried to kill your language.
Yes.
They tried to kill your culture. And obviously, in 1948, you get the overwhelming majority through the National Party, and you start implementing laws to correct that.
Yes.
Laws that also exclusively benefited the Afrikaner minority.
Yes.
Now, I just want to ask, why would you be against a government if they say we are implementing laws to correct what was happening in apartheid?
Sure.
Right?
You are right, but there's a part of the history that you do not necessarily know about, and let me try to explain that. You're absolutely correct. Sometimes we are being referred to by some of the radical parties as settlers or colonialists. We are not. We are Africans. I would like to say that some of the first anti-colonial wars were fought by our forefathers against the British. They talk about the first and it's the second Anglo-Boer War. We don't talk about that. We say the first and the second Freedom War for our freedom, because we had the republics. Remember, the Afrikaner people are republicans. We don't believe in monarchy. We don't have kings. We elect our leaders, then we kick them out afterwards and elect new leaders. That's how we operate. We are republicans. So you are right. In the Anglo-Boer War, about 30,000 farms were destroyed and the houses burned down. Thousands of live animals and livestock were killed and culled by the British. Many people went to the concentration camps. More than 30,000 women and children died in the concentration camps. My own grandmother was in the concentration camps. She was a girl of 13 years old. Her father was fighting the war. Her mother was dead. She had to look after 4 younger brothers in the concentration camp. So we know that history very well. And after that, you had the what they call the poor white question. But it was basically a poor Afrikaner question, because they were the targets of that war.
Yes.
But it's true that in 1948 the National Party came to power, not with a very big majority. Ironically so, the majority of the votes were not for the National Party. They were for the other party. But in terms of the demarcation of constituencies, they had the majority of the constituencies with a small majority. But that doesn't matter.
Or was it for the Union Party?
Yes, United Party got the majority of the votes, but the National Party got the majority of the constituencies and had a small majority. But prior to that, year around from 1918 already, there were processes going on amongst Afrikaners themselves, and there was a report brought out to deal with this issue. It was known as the Carnegie Report. And the interesting thing was the basic thrust of that report was to say, if you make people dependent on assistance from the state, you create a dependency, and you can never get people out of that dependency. And they will remain dependent on the state. You have to do it in a different way. And the whole thrust of that report was to say, you should do it yourself. In Afrikaans, ons sal self. We will do it ourselves. And then the Afrikaners started with all kinds of cooperatives and things amongst themselves to try and create this economy of their own and to look after themselves and take responsibility for their own. And during that process, a number of institutions were formed. Some of them were known as, for example, Federale Volksbeleggings, Federal People of Afrikaner Investments, if you can translate that. A bank was started, which became Volkskas, People's Bank.
ABSA.
That later became ABSA. Santam, Sanlam, all those things were created by the Afrikaner even before 48, in the 30s, 20s and 30s of the 20s. Previous. So they were empowering themselves, and they took it upon themselves. And interesting enough, that psyche is still with the Afrikaners today, until today. If you look at the whole solidarity movement, their philosophy is we will do it ourselves. And that's why they built their own university. They built Saltec, which is a very successful technical in Pretoria. We are now building our own academic university called Academia, without 1 cent of state subsidy or state assistance. Nothing.
No subsidy coming from the state.
Nothing. We do it ourselves, and people do that. It's correct what you say. When 48 came, certain laws were passed, and obviously that took the process even further, where some black people were excluded. I understand that, and I recognize that. The mistake the president is making, and he again wanted to reprimand me last Thursday in his response, but the debate will continue. I will get another chance.
You'll get another chance.
He concluded his response, and it was a huge compliment for me when he, in his his reply to the debate, spent about 10 minutes on me. That's a compliment. That's a compliment. I did say something that he had to take note of.
Right.
But he concluded by saying, it's not true that Afrikaners assisted themselves. No, Mr. President, you are wrong. We did. Obviously, we did. Later on, when we got hold of the government, that was also used, etc., blah, blah, blah. That's true.
In state empowerment.
Yeah, state empowerment then happened, and I accept that. But the philosophy throughout was we can do it ourselves. And that is up till today still the position, and Afrikaners will continue to do so. What I want to see is within the other communities of Africa to get away from the dependency. Last week, there was a response by the Minister of Social Services in Parliament during her debate. And it's tragic. She gave the figure. The budget for her department is 296 billion rand. And of that, 290 billion is spent on social grants. I understand that. But we cannot, it's unsustainable. You cannot continue. It's not as we're a rich country. We need to get the companies and the business to start to create small and medium enterprises. That's where you're going to employ people.
Instead of the dependency.
Exactly. We have to move away from that. Some people are maybe a little bit naughty and they say, no, the ANC is doing that on purpose to keep people dependent on the state. And
do you think they are for votes, Dr. Corné?
I think so. But even doing so, that is not assisting because as you've seen in the last election, their support is coming down very strongly so. They are now at 40%, 39 point something percent. The ANC believes that they can turn it around. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
There's a nice parallel internationally in the 80s during the period of Mr. P.W. Botha.
Yes.
The international community came to the conclusion to say, but the National Party, you are the bad guys. And from that moment on, it was downhill until they were out of power. The impression I do get internationally now is that the ANC is now being seen as the bad guys. Internationally, where it counts, of course, they are good friends in China and in Russia and in Venezuela and in Iran and in Cuba. But in the Western world, which I think plays a significant role, they are being seen as the bad guys. And once that happens, it's very difficult to turn that perception around.
So with what you said with doing that yourself, right? Most of the companies that were started by Africa, was it parallel to the English one, like Old Mutual, Sanlam?
Absolutely. That's
Philip Morris, Voorbrand.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And that's an example which I want the ANC to understand. Afrikaners did not take over other people's businesses. They started their own.
Were they given that choice, that with a concession, you can come and
No, they were not given. They were not given that choice, and they didn't ask for that choice. They said, "We will do it ourselves. We will create our own businesses." So we didn't take over Standard Bank or became in charge of Barclays. No, we created our own bank, Volkskas, which later became ABSA. We didn't take over, try to get hold in charge of Old Mutual. No, we started Sanlam. And I think there's a difference. You don't empower people by giving them just something. There are too many black billionaires who were given share options. What have they created in their lives? What businesses have they really started? What products? Yes, some of them have, but not all of them.
And overnight, I mean, the incentive, you could be just by being given the equity.
No, start from the bottom. And the problem is this, and Professor Gumede makes this point very strongly. He says the problem with this kind of empowerment is your empowerment, political connected people. You're not empowering entrepreneurs. If you empower entrepreneurs, they will create new jobs. They will create new businesses.
Yes.
But not if you empower political connected people.
So it's not trickling down.
It's not.
But you grew up in a very prominent Afrikaner family. Do you think there was connections for you at that? How was it like that time? If you were politically connected?
Not really. I don't think so.
Did you get stuff?
No, I didn't get stuff. No, we didn't get stuff. It didn't work that way.
Is it different
Absolutely.
like now?
Absolutely. It didn't work that way. My father had his salary. And to give you an idea, and I know it's different times. My father ended as as a minister in the cabinet in 1978.
Yes,
his annual salary was 36,000 rand a year.
36,000 rand
a year. That's 3,000 rand a month.
Okay. If we compare it to now, how much is that?
No, you can't. It's way
not
less.
even close.
You can use all the inflation you like. No, it was a small salary, and people worked for a salary. There was no other benefits in terms of share options or this or that. It didn't work that way.
Yeah.
when I went to university, there was my father paid for us. And interesting enough, my father was the youngest of 10 children. So when he went to university, he wanted to go and study. He wanted to study law. He couldn't.
Okay.
There was not enough money. So he got a bursary to become a teacher. And then afterwards, you had to go back and work for the Department of Education, which he basically did.
Okay.
So when we were 4 children, when we could go to university, my father said, he's now in a position he can pay for us to go and study, but he's got conditions. The first one is, if you fail anything, he stops paying.
He stops paying.
If you get married, he stops paying. You can study what you want, he will pay. And the last one was, we are not allowed to take any bursaries, because he said, if you take a bursary, you take away from a poor child who cannot afford to study.
Okay,
and luckily we all did well. We all succeeded in our studies, but there was nothing else. When I studied further and I did my doctorate, I had to go to the bank and loan some money from the bank.
And you loan it?
I loaned it, and I had to repay the loan afterwards. There was no sweetheart deals, as the president says. It didn't exist. No, it doesn't exist. No.
But you saw in the 1980s, at least the economic parity between Afrikaners and English were gelyk op. It was a bit equal.
It was more equal. It was more equal. It was almost equal. And I think to a very large extent, that project to get the Afrikaners out of poverty was successful. It had different dimensions. One of them was to get Afrikaner people educated, and to get people to get their children to university and to go and study and become professionally qualified and get a job and work, etc. The one thing that I must accept is the true fact that in the National Party days, a lot of Afrikaners who were not professionally qualified did get work on semi-state institutions. Many worked on the railway,
railways,
or in the police, or in the civil service. But that was a certain section of the Afrikaner people. Now today, you don't find many Afrikaners there. Well, there's nothing to work on the rail. It doesn't exist to a very large extent, unfortunately.
And it was the largest employer at that time.
It was. And I can understand that the ANC now assists black people and young, poor people to go into those professions.
And state-owned enterprises.
That's fine. But then you must make sure that those enterprises are successful and not closing them down one after the other because they are failing. You should have people at the top who are entrepreneurs and business people, and not deploy failed politicians from this place to that place to the next. And the main thing in the end is you need the economy to grow. And I really don't think you should allow this. The state shouldn't play the major role there. The state should facilitate that business can do their own thing.
Do you think they should privatize? Are you for privatization?
Absolutely.
It?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you saw back in the days, there was quite a whole lot of, the energy was nationalized. The roads were nationalized. I mean, some of the steel, you even saw ISCO as well, was also a state-owned
enterprise.
Sasol was also a state.
I know.
Quite a whole lot of them
I think in those
controlled
days,
by the state, Dr.
I think in those days, the reason basically was no one really had the capital to provide sufficient energy for South Africa. The state had to step in and create that kind of thing. Nobody in the private sector could step in and supply a railway system for all of South Africa. The state had to step in.
How about the sanctions? Don't you think it would be the sanctions?
The sanctions played a role, but the sanctions only came basically in the 80s. Second half of the 80s, beginning of the 90s. Well, second half of the 80s, since 85, I think. Most of the sanctions basically came in. And that, obviously, you all know what happened then. South Africa then started with their own arms production and arms industry, etc. But today, I think if a private company does have just more interest in making a success of something, to make a profit out of something, and to make it successful. And if you look at international models, and I don't understand why we can't do that. There are so many good examples internationally of successful ways of getting economies to grow, of getting jobs, of getting a better service in terms of railway systems, etc. I always say, even the Soviet Union, when at its heyday, all those very intelligent, hard-working Germans in East Germany, they didn't succeed. They didn't succeed because you take away the initiative. And I think, and that's what I also tried to explain to the president, and I think we are missing one another there. Equality. The whole world understands that you need to create equality of opportunity and get everyone to the position where we have equal opportunities to go forward in life.
Yes.
But what the ANC says, no. We want to see equality of outcome. That's not natural. It's never going to happen. Because if I'm a little bit naughty, let's go for equality of outcome, I would ask the president, when are we all going to be as rich as he is?
Yes.
Then we have equality of, absolutely. It doesn't work that way. So you can assist, and you need to assist people to have equal opportunities. But then it's up to individuals, and you should allow individuals, those who want to go forward in life, to make it possible. And you will always have people who are not entrepreneurs or not all that able to do that. And the state will always have to play a role in terms of social security, etc. But the emphasis should be on equal opportunities and get the economy, allow business to take its course.
Yes. And obviously, I'd like to talk about the deteriorating relationship between South Africa and America. And you were there recently with your delegation to ease the tensions. Yes. Obviously, you were critical of that meeting before between Ramaphosa and Trump. You said that was a bit of a disaster.
It was a big disaster.
But what led to you going there?
Let me try to explain. I know that the president called Mr. Trump at some stage when Zelensky was here.
Okay.
And he said to President Trump, he wanted to explain to him over the telephone, all these things that you hear about South Africa that are bad, it's not true, etc.
Okay.
President Trump responded to say, no, I don't want to talk to you now. Come to the White House, come to the Oval Office, and we'll discuss it, and bring your good golfing friends along. Okay. Because Mr. Trump is very much into golf, it seems. So that's how that trip originated.
Yes.
And Mr. Ramaphosa did put his delegation together, and he took his Minister of Agriculture along, which he called my white Minister of Agriculture, which was quite unfortunate. But in any case, Mr. Steenhuisen went along, and some of the individuals as well.
Yes.
I then, before they left, was in a television interview the Sunday before that, and I said, this is going to be a catastrophe. Because the relationship between South Africa and the United States has deteriorated to such an extent. You don't start on the level of heads of state. You try to mend this problem on a much lower level between officials of the two administrations, and they try to iron out the differences. And if they can find each other, they agree on some kind of an agreement.
Yes.
Then you bring the heads of state together, they discuss, and they sign this in public. But this was done differently. So it was, I predicted a catastrophe, and it happened. There's a very famous T-shirt going around that says, dim the lights.
Oh,
dim the lights. Because we all saw what happened in the White House. It was a catastrophe. It was shocking. Some of the individuals, the golfing people, Dr. Jan Rupert and others that went, tried their best. But it was very difficult to salvage that situation.
It was.
So I then said, thank you very much that I was not asked to go along.
I thought you should have been there.
No, well, the president decided to take his delegation, and he took Mr. Steenhuisen, and poor John, regardless of what he said, he was found guilty by association. The mere fact that he was there, the people responded very negatively and saying, why did you go and sell us out? You should have stood up there and say to Mr. Ramaphosa, you are wrong, that. But in any case, it doesn't always work that way. I was then approached by some individuals who said I should come to the United States and as an Afrikaner delegation, and they assisted, and we put that delegation together, myself, Dr. Theo de Jager from SAI, the Southern African Agricultural Initiative, which has got agricultural initiative. They are busy with farming in 44 countries in Africa.
It's not just a
South Africa. All over. They've got 5,000 farmers farming in 44 countries in Africa. And in South Africa, they've got representation as well as Gerard Papenfuss from the NIASA, the National Employers Association of South Africa. And we went then. And right from day one, I wanted to make the point, we are not there to complain. We are not there to slander our country. We are not there to be negative.
Martha.
No, that's not why we're going. We want to take a positive message that South Africa can and should be a success. We want a winning country. We want to be a winning nation. But then we need to address certain outstanding crises and certain problems that do exist. And so we had meetings that were arranged for us at the White House, at the Senate, at the House of Representatives, which with the Senate forms of Congress, at the United States State Department, the International Relations Department. We also had meetings with 4 think tanks, as well as 2 farm bureaus that represent all the farmers and some business people. So it was quite comprehensive. And we were well received. The people that assisted us said they have never had it so easy to get doors to open and to engage. So what was fascinating in the meeting in the White House was that we explained what's happening and how we see things and what's playing out. And one must just also remember, the whole thing started off already in February of this year when President Trump issued that executive order to say he's recognizing that there's a problem from his perspective. Afrikaners should be allowed to come to the United States as refugees, etc., etc. That's his perception. Then we saw the kicking out of our ambassador, Mr. Rasool, who was found wanting. He was kicked out. Then the delegation went. Democratic Alliance also sent a delegation. Mr. Whitfield went, and it didn't go also well for him when he came back. He was kicked out as a deputy minister. Solidarity sent a delegation. We did not go there on our own. We were invited to come, and that's why we went in the first instance. But during the meeting in the White House, we had a good and constructive discussion, quite a long discussion, and then the people from the White House, the officials, said to us, now we want you to listen. And they had prepared on a document, and they said, these are the conditions. The following 4 things are preconditions that the United States are putting to normalize relations between the United States and South Africa. And we want you to go back to South Africa and explain that and tell the people in South Africa these are our preconditions. And they said, we have already conveyed this to the South African government, but they don't listen. They've already done that. It's not something new. We are now trying this avenue. You go and tell them. And they spelled it out. The first one was with regard to rural safety, and they said, rural safety needs to become priority in terms of crime. Be that farm attacks on farmers, white or black, be that attacks on farm workers, white or black, doesn't matter. But rural safety should become a priority in South Africa in terms of crime, and those things should be investigated by a specialized unit. The second one was, they said, we want the slogan, kill the Boer, kill the farmer, should be denounced by the ANC. And then I said, I just want to understand, who should announce this? The Government of National Unity? They said no. The ANC must announce it. It's their slogan. They must take responsibility and denounce that in public. And then they had 2 economic preconditions. The first one was that they said they can never accept expropriation without compensation. It should be expropriation with fair market compensation. That's after a legal process. That's what they said. And the last one was American firms and entities should be set free from race-based laws in terms of black economic empowerment. They should not have to comply with those things because they want to invest. And what we then did was we went after that meeting, we had some other meetings. That evening we went to our offices that we used and we drafted a statement to convey this to South Africa. And we didn't want to make a mistake. So after we drafted our statement, we did send it to the White House back and said, we want to make sure that we are conveying the message correctly. They made 1 or 2 alterations and changes, small changes, and then the statement was issued in that instance. Now, still up to today, the ANC denounces that they've never been informed, they do not know about this, and they don't take instructions, or they don't want to take note of what's happening through this delegation. The underlying problem is this. We have a government of national unity. And it's unacceptable that one party in the government of national unity can say, we proclaim total and alone control of international relations. And that's what the ANC is doing.
So you totally against that they control international and foreign policy.
Never acceptable.
While they're not the majority.
Never. I accept that the president, as president, is the face of our international relations. I accept that. I respect that. But that means there still needs to be an international relations policy that he is the face of. And that policy can't be the policy of one party in the government of national unity. That should be agreed upon.
Is he suspicious, Dr. Mulder? Is he a bit suspicious when you go to America without his consent?
I don't need his consent.
Did you meet him after when you came back?
I don't need his consent, with all due respect. I respect the president. I respect the constitution. I respect the office of the president and the person. But I'm not a member of the executive. So Mr. Whitfield, he could kick out of the cabinet afterwards because he said, you needed my permission. You did ask permission, but you left. He was a deputy minister. I'm not in the executive. I'm just the leader of my party. I'm a member of parliament. So I don't need, I needed my party's permission, which I did get. My party structures discussed the visit, and they agreed that I should go, and I went, and I came back. When I came back, I wrote a letter yesterday, 2 weeks ago. I did write a letter to the president, and I informed him of what we experienced and what was told and said to us. And I also said, Mr. President, I would like to talk to you. The president himself was then still in Rio de Janeiro with the G20, with the BRICS thing.
The BRICS.
He wasn't here. But his office
Brazil,
responded, I think, the next day, which I appreciate. But they said, no. They defer me to, I should perhaps contact the Department of Trade and Industry. I said, no. I replied, I don't want to talk to trade and industry, I want to talk to the president. I'm the leader of a party that is part of the government of national unity. Mr. President is the president, he's also leader of his party.
Yes.
They then came back and they said they will look at the president's diary. It's about 2 weeks ago now. I know the president is very busy, he has got his own schedule, he's had his debate in parliament.
Yes.
But I will follow up. I still want to talk to the president.
But look at what's happening now, Dr. Mulder. After all these engagement, we're going to be slapped with 30% tariff by the 1st of August.
It can be prevented.
And obviously, our products, our cars, our fruits that we send to the American market, they're not going to go there with zero tariffs. How can you prevent this? What do we do? Because a lot of jobs are going to be lost.
Yeah, the government of the Reserve Bank says about 100,000 jobs may be gone. Solidarity says it's much higher. I believe it can be prevented.
Yes.
When Trump originally indicated he's going to come with tariffs, he gave 3 months to negotiate. And he clearly said, those who come first will make deals. Come and make a deal. Now, interesting enough, a country like India, Mr. Modi, India plays a very significant role within BRICS. It's one of the senior partners there. India was one of the first countries to go to the OU office, and they made a deal to the best interest of India and the United States, obviously, although they are still a member of BRICS. South Africa should have done the same. We didn't do that. So, first of all, we didn't act in time. Then we had the catastrophe the meeting in the Oval Office. That was a catastrophe. Then afterwards, the president did, after the recall of Mr. Rasool, appointed his envoy, Mr. Jonas, to go and put our case there. But when we were in Washington 3 weeks ago, no one said, we've met Mr. Jonas, or we had discussions. Everyone said, we have never seen this man. We have not seen him in Washington.
Have they approved his credentials? Because I heard he was...
Well, that now we don't know. Then the last, as you see, last week, I think, I can't remember, it was last week or sometime, the Democratic Alliance then claimed that his visa was refused. I don't know if it's true. They claim that they've got information. I don't know. Then the DA says it was confirmed from a senior official in the White House that his visa was declined. I understand he's got a normal tourist visa, but he applied, according to what I've heard, for a diplomatic visa. That was denied. I don't know if it's true. But the fact is, then the presidency said, and Durko said, no, but he was appointed as an envoy to North America. We don't have a problem with North America. We've got a problem with the United States. And then it was said he doesn't have to go to the United States to do his job as an envoy. Well, that sounds very strange to me. So these tariffs would have come into play on the 9th of July. They did not. Trump then once again said they will come into effect on the 1st of August, which I interpret as a signal once again. There's a further 3 weeks. Let's try to negotiate and make a deal.
To solve it.
And it has not happened. So unfortunately, some people say, and while during this period, after the 9th of July, what is South Africa doing? First, our deputy president went with a huge delegation to Russia. Then he went to another delegation where Minister of Agriculture, John Steenhuisen, accompanied him, this time to China. Our Minister of Trade went along to China, ignoring the United States, ignoring an attempt to try and create a deal to our best benefit. Now, I know what is being said is, well, maybe the United States is a lost case and we must just find new markets.
New markets.
It's not that simple, for the simple reason. We export Mercedes-Benz cars from the Eastern Cape to the United States. The number of Mercedes-Benzes that are sold in South Africa is very small. The vast majority that they build in the Eastern Cape are all exported to the United States.
All exports.
Now, if you come along and say, well, it's not a problem, we'll find another market. We'll just export them in Southern Africa. No, there's no market for Mercedes-Benz in Southern Africa. There's not even a market in China. And the problem is this. If you look at the per capita income to be spent by individuals in different countries, you'll find the following. The United States has got a market of 340 million people, but the per capita income in the United States per person is $73,000. The per capita income in China is only $13,300, way less.
Oh, way less.
Way less.
So that population.
Way less. Despite the big population, maybe they can buy some fruit.
Yes.
But they're not going to buy cars or manufactured goods.
I see.
In Russia, it's even worse. The per capita income is $10,200. And in Southern Africa, it's even worse.
Even worse.
So you cannot afford to lose the consumer market of the United States.
It's a massive
market. And you remember now, the United States is our second largest trading partner. South Africa is the United States' largest trading partner in Africa. And in all the discussions we had in the United States, they want to trade and they want to have a deal and they want to invest in South Africa. They want to do that. And what we need is direct foreign investment. We need them to come and invest in terms of our infrastructure, assist and bring stability to our energy needs, our road infrastructure, our rail infrastructure. And the companies could then come and create jobs for South African citizens. They want to do that.
And plus, we've got a trade surplus with them, right?
Yes.
We sell more to them than we actually buy in.
Yes, and obviously they want to change that around, but they want to come and do some direct capital investment. And there are various reasons for that. Obviously, the United States take note of the fact that China is investing largely into Africa. And the American approach under the Trump administration has changed from no more just aid, let's trade. Let's trade. And at the moment, it seems that we're incapable of reaching out and using that market to our best benefit. It's shocking.
It is. So with you being your party being part of the government of national unity, has there been discussions that what is going to happen after the 1st of August?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
There is no turnaround strategy that, look, this thing is going to happen.
Not that I'm aware of, but when you talk to the government, when the media asks, the question is, we are trying to find alternative markets, we are still trying to negotiate, etc. Now, what the United States are saying is, they call it non-tariff trade barriers. In other words, there are certain trade barriers that are not tariff related.
Yes.
Those 4 things that I've mentioned, those four policy things, those are typical non-tariff trade barriers that the United States want to be settled. They had the same. For example, I saw that with regard to Argentina. They said they want the court case against the previous president should be set aside because it's
in Brazil.
In Brazil, for example. So that's what the Trump administration does. And they don't have to trade with us if they don't need to. But it's an opportunity for us to get into that huge market of consumers that can spend and can buy.
Yeah. Geopolitically, I saw you have a bit of a problem with South Africa aligning itself with China, Russia, and Iran and so on, and some of the BRICS countries. And you say that is one big problem that is biting us, especially on our economy. How do you think we should approach our relations geopolitically?
I honestly think the main reason why the American or the Trump administration took out their magnifying glass at the beginning of this year and put it on South Africa was because of our international relations policy and because South Africa took Israel to the International Court of Justice and claiming genocide against Israel. One must understand the huge influence of the Jewish community and the question of the state of Israel within the American society and internationally in the West. I think that played a huge role in terms of the positioning because South Africa has now positioned ourselves from the Americans' perspective of all the rogue states, be that Iran, be that Venezuela, be that Cuba, you name them, China, in any case. So why can't we do what India is doing? India is doing what's in the best interest of India. We should do what's in the best interest of South Africa. We should have good relations with BRICS. We should have just as good relations with the West and the United States and get all the benefits that we can get from both sides to the best interest of our economy. And we don't have to choose sides. We just have to
non-aligned.
Just be really non-aligned. But the perception exists, and it's more than the perception. You know, at the moment there are 2 bills being brought to the American Congress to sanction South Africa. And if you look at that bill...
It's leaders or the country, Dr. Mulder?
At this stage, it's the leaders. I've got the one bill here I'll show you just now.
Yeah.
The American bills are different. The aim of the bill is in a small paragraph, and then it sets out for 8 pages all the transgressions from their perspective of our government over the last 30 years in terms of threatening America's national security, one instance after the other. Some of those things I didn't even know. So
the votes in the UN, everything.
Everything is being spelled out there very clearly. And then it says, and some people say, oh, don't worry about that. Those bills will go nowhere. I'm afraid last week, that specific bill that can sanction the leadership of certain officials and within the ANC and government, that bill was last week elevated to the next level in the democratic legislative process, where the committee will now discuss it, bring amendments if need be, and then send it after a vote to the House to be voted on. And remember, at the moment, the Republicans, Mr. Trump's party, has got a majority in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, and he's the president. So if South Africa continues to send a message that we are wanting to be an enemy of the United States and their interests, we should not be surprised if they go that route. My view is that we should be really non-aligned. And secondly, when we went to the United States, we explained to them and we said, well, if a trade deal could have been proposed, it should have been the following. It should have made provision for trade.
Okay.
For example, our energy sector is not secure. We've got a number of coal-fired power stations that are very old, more than 50 years old. The United States got a lot of expertise. Come in and can assist us to refurbish those power stations. Then let's go nuclear further in terms of these pebble bed nuclear reactors that are small. They can be very efficient. Then let's invest in infrastructure, roads, railways, and those kind of things. And then the American companies can come up and set up companies to create jobs for our citizens. But the second part is more a geopolitical one. The United States believes in influences of power. They believe that the Western Hemisphere should be the influence of power of the United States and the West. But they recognize that China does have its own influence of power around in the East, and that should be recognized. And Russia has got its own. That's why Mr. Trump is reaching out to Greenland, and he wants to make Canada part of the United States. He wants to
annex Canada.
He wants to control the Panama Canal because it goes about the national security of the United States.
But do you think it's correct how he does things? Just take Canada, just like that, and Greenland. Just take it.
He didn't take it. He expressed what he's thinking in those regards. No. Political leaders or people have different views and different approaches. He's a very straightforward, straight shooter business person. And from his perspective, he looks at it from like a business deal. This is a good deal for Canada. You become part of this country. You're going to share in this, that, and the other. How can you turn down this deal? The same with regard to Greenland. He says, well, it's your absolute advantage. Become part of the United States. So he's looking from that as in a transactional manner. Unlike, he's not a normal in terms of a career politician. We all know that.
Yes.
But the American people voted and they are supporting that. He's got the majority. He's governing. Some people say the midterm elections next year will have a greater problem. Others say no. The Democratic Party in the United States is in a huge, very difficult situation.
In a difficult situation.
But within that reality, what's happening in the world, we've got to find our own little place as South Africa. And I believe the best way is to be non-aligned. Get the best, what we can get from BRICS, but also keep our door open and trade to that huge market in the United States.
So by being non-aligned, you would say we must leave BRICS.
We don't have to leave BRICS. No, we don't. We don't have to BRICS. But let me give you one suggestion. No, India didn't leave BRICS. India is still there. And India is trading.
I think BRICS is weakened now while Trump is in office. They don't really meet as much. Even China didn't go.
Let me give you a scenario. Let me give you a scenario. It's possible, let's say, hypothetically, that the United States perceived BRICS to be a future possible problem. Because there was at some stage talk about creating a new currency that should replace the dollar internationally, and the United States took note of that. So it just could be that the United States decided, let's test BRICS. Let's focus. Do you remember there was a television program some years ago where people need to reply to questions? And then the lady says, you're out. You're the weakest link. Maybe, just maybe, the United States said, let's look, who would be the weakest link in BRICS? And they looked towards South Africa. And the question now is, who came to our aid from the BRICS countries? No one.
They're all looking after their own interests.
Exactly, and they're all in trouble themselves. So it could be that the United States has tested BRICS and has decided we've tested this is not a real threat. And if you look at the last meeting in Rio de Janeiro, Russia was not represented by its president, neither with China. It was almost a low-key kind of thing. We can create the impression that all is well, but it seems not to be so well. But the reality is China is also a huge market for some of our products. We are not really trading very much exporting to Russia. That's not a real market for us.
And China's also given African countries no tariff.
Yes. So we can make use of that in terms of certain products and certain things. But if the United States want to make some real capital investment in South Africa, and we can export certain goods from South Africa to that market, we should absolutely do so. Why do we want to risk a tariff situation now with the United States? And then some people say, no, but we will not succeed. How do we know? Let's try and make a deal. But at the moment, we are now where we are today, 23rd of July. It's a week.
It is. When you were in America, did you meet up with the 40 members, the so-called refugees that left South Africa?
No, we didn't. We did meet up with some of the farmers. Interesting enough, there are currently in the United States 16,200 young Afrikaner farmers.
16,000?
16,200.
Yeah.
Young Afrikaner farmers who should be farming here,
they're there,
who are farming there. And they are working on farms in the American agricultural sector. They are earning dollars because they say they don't have the opportunity necessarily here. They don't feel secure here. Expropriation of property. People don't want to expand their farms. They don't want to invest in creating
those. So it's a massive brain drain.
It's a massive brain drain. Well, luckily they are getting new skills in the United States. I want to see.
But how are they doing that side?
They're doing very well. They're doing very well. And the Americans, and that's why we spoke to those two farming bureaus that represent all the American farmers. They are very well sought after because they say these youngsters are hardworking. They've got agricultural skills when they come from South Africa, having gone through agricultural colleges or having learned at the family farm kind of situation. And they are very much sought after at the moment. But I want them back. I want them in South Africa. I want them in the rest of Africa.
And you told them?
Yes.
And how reluctant were they?
They are reluctant. They say if we can turn things around in South Africa and get back to normality, where we've got a sound economy again, where we've got law and order, where we've got things that the way they should be, and there's a future for all, and they will not be discriminated against, they would like to come back.
With Dr. Mulder, but don't you think that when Trump said there was a genocide, there's a white genocide in South Africa, don't you think that was a cover for Israel?
It's possible.
But how do you feel as Afrikaners to be used as a cover for the real thing?
No, let me say above that, and interesting enough, when we went to the United States, we expected that we will be asked this question.
Yes.
No one asked us this question, not once, about the genocide or not a genocide. My response to that is, it depends on what you perceive in your mind. If I use the word genocide, what does one interpret it to be? In other words, if genocide means to you in terms of your interpretation, we go outside now and on the pavement, corpses and people are...
just like in Rwanda.
If that is the perception of a genocide...
Hutus against Tutsis.
Exactly. If that is the perception of genocide, we don't have a genocide in that instance because that is not the case. That we have an abnormal situation, that's true. In this country, 80 people murdered a day. So as one person said, the meeting in the Oval Office explained to President Trump, you think farmers are murdered? We are all being murdered. It's a very violent country.
It's across all borders.
It's a terrible image and a terrible message to send. You thought it was us. No, it's everyone. That's not a good message to send. So, but we do not have a normal society. 27,000 murders per year. It's mad. How can it be? But that says a lot about lawlessness in this country. It says a lot about crime. It says a lot about the culture in this country between people. And the fact that people are desperate, that lots of things are going wrong. If people have a good job, and I always believe that the ordinary individual, black, white, colored, Indian, doesn't matter. What do they want? They want a job. They want a family that is secure, that have a house, and that they've got a future. That's what they need. And we are not there. And it doesn't seem that we are making positive strides to get to that point.
With your organization, obviously, previously, it is still predominantly an Afrikaner party.
Yes.
And obviously conservative Afrikaner.
Yes.
But if you look across the board, black, colored, white, you get quite a whole lot of Christians conservatives.
Absolutely.
Have you looked into crossing
That's exactly.
the board? Because
when I became leader, I said, well, let me take one step back. About 4 or 5 years ago, we changed the mission of the party. The party, and I've got to be true from where we came. The party, as you correctly points out, originated as an Afrikaner party. It happened, you remember, prior to 1994, the official opposition was the Conservative Party.
Yeah, the Conservative.
They did not want to, but they decided they're not going to participate in the new dispensation. They're going to ignore it as if it doesn't exist. We said to them, whether you like it or not, whether you're going to vote or not, it's happening. And if you don't participate, people are going to vote. They will vote for it. They'll vote for the National Party.
Yeah.
So we formed the Freedom Front at that stage, and that became a vehicle for our people and for our ideas. That's where we came from. Okay. But about 5 years ago, the party said, no, we changed our mission statement. We are still true to who we are, where we came from. But we also want to become the voice for other minorities in South Africa, regardless, different minorities, etc., etc. Since then, and if I look, with all due respect, if I look at the responses I've received since the visit in the United States, if I look at the responses on social media, I do get support of what I'm doing at the moment from across South Africa. Black, white, colored, Indian, Afrikaans, English, doesn't matter. Is it Zulu? Is it Xhosa? Tswana? It doesn't matter. Because the message that we are putting is a message that resonates with ordinary, normal South Africans out there who would like to have a successful future, and it makes sense what we are basically saying. And coming elections, the party will also reach out to other communities. We will do so.
Yeah, in the local elections. But why did you join the government of national unity?
I was, and I still am.
Were you a strong proponent?
Yes, I was, and I still am. You remember now, for the last 30 years, prior to last year's election, the ANC was governing alone, all by themselves.
Yes.
Now, if you look at our constitutional system, and specifically our electoral system, it's strictly proportional representation.
Yes.
Under normal circumstances, you should never have one party attain a majority in a proportional system. You'll see in Germany, for example, or in other countries, a party will get 30%, and they'll say, we won the election. And then they form a coalition with other parties. But in South Africa, we had an abnormal situation because of the past, where one party, the ANC, attained for 30 years a clear majority despite the fact that it's proportional. Last year, for the first time, they went below 50%. And from my perspective, for the first time, we got more to a normality in terms of our electoral position, where now you are forced to form coalition governments and to cooperate with one another. I'm a proponent of that because I think it brings out a better kind of government. I'm always very nervous. There's a certain party, their colors are bluish. They love to say, we are the only party. The moment when any political party says, we are the only, I become very nervous.
They're campaigning.
Because nobody alone has all the wisdom or the answers. It's not true. I believe in collective governance. I believe in collective leadership. Let's get the best of all the parties. So I was and I still am, a very strong proponent of the government of national unity. But then we should have also a normal government of national unity. And the problem was this. Our constitution is not written to accommodate the government or a coalition. Our constitution compels us to elect a president within 14 days. Then he appoints the executive. Normally, when you put a new government together in a coalition, it can take months to negotiate because you go into the election, I've got my manifesto, you've got your manifesto. But neither of us get sufficient support. Now we've got to negotiate a new platform, a policy platform that takes some of the things in my manifesto, some from yours. We find a new agreement, and this becomes the manifesto for that government for the next 5 years. We didn't do that. So after the election, the ANC, basically, we had to elect a president. The president could not be elected without the support of the other parties because the ANC's got 159 votes out of 400.
Yeah.
So we all supported to get him elected. But now the policies that are being governed should be all the policies of all of us. And that's where the problem is.
So you think you are being used as a vehicle because obviously you're implementing ANC policies.
Well, that's the question. And I've said from the beginning, I want to be part of the government of national unity. Why? If you can be at the table where decisions are taken that have an effect on South Africa, I want to be at that table and make my input and try to steer the process also what I believe in. That's the first one. The second one is, I want to have success for the people that we represent, be that the Afrikaner or other minorities or other conservative Christian people, it doesn't matter. We want to be at the table where those decisions can be influenced. Now, if I suspect at some stage that we are just being used and we are just being showcased around, means nothing. Then I need to ask myself, what am I doing there? I can't be co-opted. And that's the same challenge that the Democratic Alliance does have. Now, the national dialogue, for example, in the statement of intent that was agreed upon to create the government of national unity makes provision for a national dialogue.
Yes.
My interpretation at the time was that because we cannot negotiate and create this national policy platform, that the national dialogue should have been immediately after the formation of the government a year ago, and it should be between the parties in the government of national unity to agree on a new policy platform. That's what the national dialogue should have been. That didn't happen. Now it's a year later and it seems it's a completely different animal. And some will participate, some won't participate.
You're going to participate, right?
Let me put it this way. I've taken note that the DA has decided they're withdrawing from that. I think they've made a mistake in the sense that they were under pressure to withdraw from the government of national unity. They didn't want to do that. So they decided, well, we need to withdraw from something. And they withdrew from the government from the national dialogue. You can never say that you are not prepared to talk. You can never say, I do not want to enter into a dialogue with others. And you have to talk. The question will still arise, is that the correct platform? Will it be structured in the right manner? How will we reach outcomes and what will happen? So we are still going through the process. We want to see all the documentation. What's it going to be like? How will decisions be taken? How will it be implemented? What is just going to be a talk shop, etc., etc. And in doing so, because of my leadership style in the party, I will first consult. Not only within the party, I will consult in our broader constituency also, outside
I think you should be part of it, though.
I think so too. I think so too. But we will first consult with a number of institutions, NGOs, trade unions, agricultural unions. We will all consult and take a joint decision, I hope.
So with the Afrikaner constituency, are you seeing votes more in the rural side or either in the urban Afrikaner?
All over. You know, there's a perception that says...
The DA is challenging you as well, Doctor. What are you saying to Afrikaners that vote for DA?
No, they are wasting their votes. You know why? It's so tragic. They are wasting their votes. Why? They vote for the Democratic Alliance. Why? Not because of their policies. They vote for the DA because they think they are a bigger party. Okay. They will have a better chance to do something with the ANC. But it's like a pencil without a point. You can't write with this thing because after they voted for the DA and the DA gets people elected, the Afrikaner doesn't feature on the agenda in terms of the priorities of the Democratic Alliance. They don't.
So their priority is more English, you would say?
Absolutely. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. However, there are within the Democratic Alliance a few people who have to sing for their supper. And they have to try to reach out and keep the Afrikaners on board. They can do whatever they like. I put a message quite clearly straight to the Afrikaner community and say, I want to represent the Afrikaner community and other minorities. I'm reaching out to all of them.
Yes.
And say, I want to be your champion because the test of a democracy, the test of a real democracy in the modern times is not one person, one vote only. It's how do you treat your minorities? How do you treat the minorities within your society? Absolutely. You can't just go along and say, well, you had a say. This is the end of it. Let me use an example. If we around this table are seated for dinner tonight, 7 wolves and 1 sheep, who is a minority. And now we're going to vote, what will we have for dinner tonight? And one of the wolves says, I think we'll have lamb. And the lamb says, no, I object. Do you have a seconder? No. So what if a proposal for lamb, a seconder? Yes, tonight we'll have. That's not democracy. That's tyranny of a majority. You have to accommodate your minorities to make them feel safe. And there are numerous examples internationally where you have to do that.
Yes, to accommodate.
Absolutely.
So are you part of any cultural Afrikaner events that bring Afrikaners together?
Yes.
Because if you look in the past, in 1938, the Oxwagon track, the symbolic one, you have the when we became a republic,
Yes.
those were symbolic.
Absolutely.
You know,
Huge events.
Do you take part in that,
absolutely.
Dr. Corné?
Let me give you an example. I was very much involved in the constitution writing process, the current constitution.
Oh, the current one.
Oh, yes. I was at Kodesa and I participated. And there are certain sections in the Constitution that is quite important. Section 235 deals with self-determination of any community bound by common cultural and language heritage. I was privileged to write that article in negotiations with the ANC and other people that assisted.
Yes.
But I was allowed and privileged, and you'll see it in the Hansard and the records of the time,
the records.
to propose that into the Constitution, and it is exactly there today. Then there's Section 185. And that's a strange commission that exists with a very long name. And at some stage during the negotiations, they wanted to say, but the name is too long. I said, no, I insist, this is the name. The name says the Commission for the Protection of the Rights of Linguistic, Cultural, Religious Communities in South Africa. That's part of accommodating minorities, etc.
Yes.
So all these these cultural festivals that you see, Aardklop, KK and K in Oudtshoorn and others,
Belova and
all of those, all over the country, they are in terms of Section 30 and 31, which we also proposed, that says cultural communities or minority communities should be allowed to exercise their culture, their tradition, their languages should be recognized, and they should be allowed to do that. That's in terms of the Constitution. Nobody can prevent that. But those kind of things are growing by the day. They are becoming stronger and bigger, where people come together voluntarily and they enjoy their culture and everything that's important to them.
And what do you say about the flags, the old flags sometimes being flown,
Yes, it's
and the songs, the nostalgia songs? Because it's the same thing with like the song that the Kill the Boer, Kill the Farmer song. What do you say with that?
I say you can't have it both ways. You can't say, and the president says that when he was confronted after he came back from the United States, kill the Boer, kill the farmer. And he defended it. He said, no, it's a struggle thing. It should not be taken literally, which I find strange. And then he says, but it's a freedom of speech. But then you can't say, if you wave the old flag, it's not freedom of speech. That's just now hate speech. You can't either both would be hate speech or both would be freedom of speech. You can't say what is from this side is fine, from this side is not. But be that as it may, I'm very much fond of flags because a flag is a symbol of something. Now, interesting enough, our party's got its own flag, which is just our symbol. And
the green one.
Yeah. Now, how does it look? It's got a green banner in there.
Yeah.
And then it's got orange, white, and blue. And then some people say, no, it's an old South African flag. No, it's not. The orange, white, and blue is part of our heritage as Afrikaners. Jan van Riebeeck came 1652 with the flag orange, white, and blue. And that was the flag of the Prince of Orange, who was in a huge religious war against the Catholics. The Protestants and the Catholics, 1572. That's where that comes from. But why the color green? You'll find the color green in 44 of the 54 flags in Africa. So that symbolizes those people who are descendants that came out of Europe originally 370, 80 years ago, who have made Africa their home. And that's why I always say I'm not European. I'm an African. If I have to speak in racial terms, which I don't want to, then I'm a white African. We have called ourselves to the continent, Afrikaner, Africa. Our language is Afrikaans, after our continent. If I go to Europe, even now when I was in Washington 3 weeks ago, if I walk around, I don't say a word, they may think I'm one of them. But if I say one word in any language, they say, you're not one of us. Where are you from? Africa. And it's good to go to Europe sometimes or any other place in the world and be the East. I've been to Russia. I've been to other places.
But were you also in Germany as well?
Yes, I've been. I studied in Germany and I've studied in the UK. And it's nice to go to different places. But when the plane lands back in South Africa and I get out of the plane and the door opens and I take a breath, I'm home. Because this is Africa, this is my home. And after 370 years, Africa has become part of who the Afrikaner are. We are from Africa, we are Africans. And we want to create a future here, but we can create a future to the best ability and the best interest of all South Africans.
Yeah.
That's what we need to do.
So in World War, sorry to ask you this, Doctor. In World War II, were you pro the war?
I was not born yet.
You were not born.
However,
your father, were they pro or were they against in fighting an English war?
They were against England.
Right.
And it wouldn't have mattered who fought against England. Why? Because of the Anglo-Boer War.
Because of the Anglo-Boer.
They killed our people. They destroyed our properties. They killed everyone, all the farms. And so they were against the English. As a matter of fact, interesting enough, in the 1970s, my father was a minister, and there was a process of reaching out between Afrikaans and English whites in South Africa to come together.
To come together.
My grandmother wrote my father a letter.
Yeah.
She was a girl of 13 years in the concentration camp. Her brother died in the camp. And she wrote my father and says, "You're making a big mistake. You don't know the English." So that's interesting. So we were not pro this or pro that. We were against the British at that stage because of our history.
Do you have someone in your family who's married to an English family?
My daughter is getting married to an English young man on the 6th of September.
Wow, nice. Congratulations on that.
Yes.
Right. No, that's nice.
So those days have
gone. But how did the Afrikaners heal then from that, Dr. Mulder?
First of all, we did not have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. There was never a Truth and Reconciliation Commission dealing with the trauma that came out of that war. And that was severe. And there are many family histories and things. Not a single family was not affected by that war. All of them. I think the religion played a very strong role because people, they are staunch Christians. They said we have to forgive. And if you look at the monument in the Free State in Bloemfontein for the second Anglo-Boer War, forgive but never forget.
And General Louis Botha said, "Forgive and forget."
Yes, but forgive but never forget. That's what.
Never forget.
Never forget. Never forget. Remember where you came from. Remember what happened, and then you move on. And then second part of that process is you'll have to do it yourselves. You can't expect somebody that will come from anywhere and will come and uplift you. You have, as a people, to take the responsibility for your own people, and you have to do that. And I would like to see that in South Africa. We have to empower communities. We have to empower all our communities to be able to get going.
I've got a picture here of your father. You've got the same name as your father.
Yes.
Cornelius
Petrus, exactly the same.
You both have a doctorate.
Yes. Yes.
This is the picture of it. That's your dad. Where are you on this picture?
I was probably in the crypt inside. This is my eldest brother.
Okay, that's your elder brother.
That's my other brother, Devet, that has died.
Okay.
And my father was then a young parliamentarian, most likely taken around 1958. And I was a baby just born. Yes. That was our house in Randfontein on the West Rand where we grew up. Yes. So this is my brother Peter, my brother Devet, and my dad.
Do you miss your dad?
Yes. Yes.
Do you think he would be proud of you if he saw you now?
I think so, yes. Yes, I do think so. Interesting enough, he was in politics for more than 20 years. I've been there now for 37 years in Parliament.
Yeah.
That's a lifetime.
But what is the biggest lesson that you got from him?
A very simple but a very important one. In each and every situation in life, you have to be able to turn things around. And you have to put yourself in the position of the other person. If in any situation...
That's great empathy, right?
Exactly. If you were in that person's shoes, how would you feel if this happens to you? So you have to be able to always do that. And that's part of my philosophy in life. It works. It helps. Thank you very much, Dr. Mulder. I really enjoyed this conversation. Yes, you're a great man. Bye-bye, dankie. I really appreciate this. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the excellent work you are doing with your podcast. I think it's very important. We need to get the message out to people to understand each other. I always say to people, and with regard to myself as well, judge me for who I am, not for who you think I am. That goes for all of us. Baie dankie, meneer. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Corné.